Alright, in this video we're going to be talking about exponents and square roots. So let's start by talking about exponents and understanding what is an exponent. So we could have something like here, we call it, the way we would say this, 4 to the third power, or 4 to the power of 3. Okay, in this situation we call this number here, the 4, the base, and this number here, 3, the exponent. Okay, and notice it's kind of small and written up above. So that's what exponents are always going to look like. So what does 4 to the third power mean? Well, 4 to the third power is equal to 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, so the base is the number being multiplied, and the exponent tells me how many times I'm multiplying it by itself. Okay, this should seem familiar to us because multiplication is a similar concept, right? We talked about how multiplication is repeated addition. So we could think of this as 4 plus 4 plus 4, or 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, right? So just like multiplication is repeated addition, when we have exponents, it's repeated multiplication. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is what does it mean to square a number? Or what does it mean if we say we have a number squared? Okay, so this specifically means to the second power. Or to the power of 2. So, for instance, 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, 3 squared, 3 times 3, 9. I'm going to go ahead and write out all of what we call the perfect squares. 4 squared, 16. If you look at a times table chart, these are all of the facts that run diagonally down. Okay? We call them the perfect squares. It's just like all the times tables, really valuable to have in our head. Okay, so these are what we call our perfect squares. Okay? 2 squared 4, you get the idea. All right. So then it takes us to the idea, well, what is a square root? Okay, square root is the opposite of squaring something. So if I were to take the square root of 16, that's really like saying what number squared is going to give me 16. Okay, that shouldn't be an equal sign. I'm sort of just like transforming how we think about it, right? What number squared gives me 16? And because we have our perfect squares here, we know that the answer is, well, 4 squared gives me 16. So the square root of 16 is equal to 4. Okay, the square root of 49 is equal to 7, right? So it's, again, this is very similar to how we think about division, right? If I have 12 divided by 3, I can really think about it like 3 times how much is going to get me 12, right? So squaring something and taking the square root are opposites of one another, okay? If I were to do this on the calculator, right? A lot of the GED tests we can have a calculator. This is where you're going to use that second button, okay? You're going to see it's a second button, and then you can click on the button that says x squared, okay? This button squares a number. It takes it to the second power. So when you hit that second button, though, it's going to do whatever the symbol is above, and if you look, it will be the square root symbol. So if I wanted to find the square root of a number that isn't one of my perfect squares, right, then I might use a calculator. Like let's say you had the square root of 52, okay? Not one of my perfect squares, but I do know, right, in my head I could estimate what it's going to be. What's a good estimate? Well, the square root of 49, that's 7, right? And then the square root of 64 is 8. Okay, those are the two closest perfect squares. The square root of 52 is It's going to be somewhere in between. So somewhere in between 7 and 8. I know we haven't really talked about decimal values, but it would be 7 point something, right? I don't have my calculator with me. But again, if I wanted to use the calculator, hit that second button, x squared, and then 52. And it would tell me the exact answer that I needed. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and guess. You can check on your calculator. I'm going to go ahead and guess 7.18. We'll see later if that's correct or not.